Welcome back to Proxy, everybody, and today we're going to be looking at the World Championships preview for the Aeldari. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. For the first time since 2006, most of our Aspect Warriors are going to be in modern plastic. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you didn't think there was going to be an Aeldari reveal today, but thank goodness there was. Thank Isha. And we basically got almost everything we desired. Now, there is something unfortunately missing from the preview that I'm a little bit disappointed in, and I will get into that. But a vast majority of the preview basically gives us everything we ever wanted, everything that I talked about wanting in prior kind of videos that I've made about my predictions and hopes for the new Aeldari Codex have been granted. And guys, I have to also say that in a very unbiased way, I think this is probably the best reveal of the year. I think the Aeldari got the lion's share of the best models, the best potential rules. We'll, of course, have to wait and see, but based on what GW has said in the interview and reel, and also in this article that we're going to read in just a second, it looks like we're going to get basically everything we wanted and everything we dreamed about. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a look at the Warhammer community article talking about the reveal, and then we're going to dive into the video, and I'm going to make commentary on several things. And there will be a series of videos going into all of these different things, what to expect when the Aeldari Codex comes out, how the Eldar are going to play on the battlefield, and so forth. So, without further ado, let us go ahead and dive right in. So, it seems like the Codex revolves around the Phoenix Lords uniting together for the final battle against Chaos. And this is really cool because this is something that I personally read in the 3rd edition Codex way back when I was a kid and absolutely loved it. And it was one of my favorite things about the lore of the Eldar, that they were just kind of gearing up for this final battle against Chaos to destroy it once and for all and bring balance back to the galaxy, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but let's read the intro because it's kind of cool. The galaxy is sliding ever further into a maelstrom of war and chaos, challenging the foresight of the Eldari's greatest seers, and more often are the craftworlds dragged into conflicts they would otherwise be content to avoid. But at this darkest of moments, the elite warriors of the Aspect Shrines are buoyed by the return of their legendary progenitors, the Phoenix Lords, and a new face is among their number. Now, if you guys remember, I predicted this. I predicted this way back when I did my video on, some of the new model kits we're going to get, and I predicted that the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord was going to be, in fact, one of the new models because it was referenced in the Tau Codex, and GW likes hiding little Easter eggs to get people kind of semi-excited for stuff. So I predicted this. They have found the lost Warp Spider, and we are good to go. So we're going to watch this video later. But we're going to scroll down here to the first of many new Aeldari miniatures, the Fire Dragons. Personally, my favorite aspect, they've always had a soft spot in my heart just because I remember the 2006 models looking really cool to me. And I think this range refresh really does them justice. So, something kind of funny I want to talk to you guys about as well. But we have 3 weapons for our exarchs. We can have the Fire Axe, or kind of like a fire axe equivalent, and a fusion pistol. I'm certain this will be a dragon fusion pistol, so it'll still have the dragon kind of fusion rules. We have the Dragon's Breath Flamer here with a double a double tank of promethium, or whatever the substance the Eldar use for their flamers. And it you guys can kind of get the idea of why I'm laughing at this weapon. It's just hilarious, and honestly, I can't wait to use it in battle and just absolutely clown my opponents with it when I Overwatch. Then we have the classic Fire Pike, which is awesome, and it looks much better than the old kind of Exarch with the Fire Pike as far as the model goes, and, otherwise, though, it kind of holds true to the same kind of look. We have the back banner, which is also very cool. Cool thing to note about the back banner, though, is that, you don't have to put it on your model if you don't want to. Like, if you think back banners are kind of lame and cheesy, you can go ahead and clip that off. It's no big deal, and I don't think it would harm the model whatsoever. As you can see, this exarch doesn't have a back banner, so it's not like it's required. Then we look at the Fire Dragon Warriors, and the cool thing about these is, unlike some of the Scorpion sculpts that we got, these all are different. And yes, they are more of a static pose in some cases, but also do remember these are fire dragons. They're not howling banshees. They're not what I thought striking scorpion should be. They're probably more of a static aspect warrior when it's all said and done. Focusing more on shooting tanks and being able to target weak points rather than being acrobatic or stealthy and stuff like that. But we still have a good variation here. We got a guy carrying his fusion gun, throwing a grenade. And that's actually, if you look close, that's actually a fusion grenade, fusion bomb. We have just a fire dragon just kind of holding his weapon there, pointed slightly down. We have a fire dragon, shooting, aiming at its target. And then we have, the fire fusion gun, pointing up here. We also, of course, have the Aeldari helmets. And we have the little shrine thing, which is kind of cool. I love these little things. They don't really do much, but they're really cool and fun to paint. So fire dragons are looking awesome. Realistically, I think that most people are going to go with the fire pike still for the loadout, but we don't know, right? The fire axe might be really strong, and it might just be super good, but we'll have to see what the Codex holds. But this is primarily still going to be a shooting unit, and the exarch weapon is just kind of cool. It's just a kind of cool include. So we also got Asurmen. And we knew this was going to happen. There was a rumor about it a while back that was essentially confirmed. Asurmen looks pretty awesome. A lot of you guys have converted Asurmens. And I think, honestly, I've seen a couple of your guys' converted Asurmens on, Discord and stuff like that. I personally believe that your guys' work is pretty comparable to this. This is a pretty general idea of what I thought Asurmen was going to look like. You got the dire sword. You got the twin shuriken catapults right here, the Avenger shuriken catapults. The helmet's pretty cool. I think the mouthpiece is a little interesting. It's a little different than his prior mouthpiece, so that's cool. And you have the cool banner as well. Lots of detail, crisp lines for highlighting and stuff like that, so this is going to be a beauty to paint as well. Really cool model. Glad we get a new Asurmen model. That's awesome. We also have Baharroth, which, by the way, I love the new sculpt. I think the new sculpt is awesome. I think it pays homage to the old one as well, while also just still looking really cool. I think that's going to be a breaking hazard, though, so be careful about, storing this guy, because you could easily just break him off of this. Of course, the gun banner looks really sick. We have the triple plume, just like the old model, which is really cool. And yeah, he just looks like a great model. And I will tell you guys about the rules when the reveal video comes around. But it looks like he's getting some pretty cool rules as well. And I'll dive into why I think it's actually going to be really good for our faction. Okay, then we have the Swooping Hawks. Now, this is really neat. So the Swooping Hawks look cool. They're all kind of like, hopping off of these Aeldari ruins. Very similar to what we saw from the Vespid, which is what I was hoping for. I was hoping for Swooping Hawks to be more dynamic. They're flying through the air. They shouldn't just be on the ground, in static positions. And all of them pretty much look the same. So we have different posing here for the guns. And as we look over, we have, again, right, there's different arm options. This is a regular Swooping Hawk, and it's carrying, a blast blaster with one arm and, just having an arm open here with the other. So there's a few different options there for the kit. And again, all of the models look different, right? They're all different in some way, shape, or form. If you look at how their feet are positioned on the rocks, you look at how, their bodies are moving and how their guns are positioned, they're all slightly different and unique. Then we have the exarch, which I thought was very cool how they made the different weapon options here. So you have the classic Hawk's Talon. You have, of course, a scatter laser for some reason. Now, in the past, it was actually a sun rifle. I don't know why they chose to make it a scatter laser, but there you go. I was kind of hoping it'd be a sun rifle, but it's not. So it is a scatter laser, and I assume it's just going to be just your basic scatter laser, but it might be a little bit different because it's carried by a Swooping Hawk exarch. We don't know yet. And then we have the power weapon and what looks like a las blaster pistol, which could be kind of cool. Or maybe it'll be called something else. Maybe it'll be called a sun pistol or something like that. And I'm thinking that because the Hawk's Talon arm, it has an arm like this, maybe you can take the Hawk's Talon and the power sword, but on the exarch that has the scatter laser, you can only take the scatter laser. I don't know exactly how the options are going to shake out, but it's kind of cool that the Swooping Hawk exarch has some different choices now. All right, now moving on to probably the coolest Phoenix Lord I have ever seen. We, of course, have, and I hope I don't get this wrong, but Lycus. And before, I thought it was going to be Lasconde, because that's how it was pronounced before, but they changed the wording a little bit to change the name. It looks really cool. Looks like you have 4 different weapons here. I want to say these little claws here are some sort of spinneret rifle. And then you have 2 death spinners, and you have this beautiful, beautiful sword. Excuse me. So, the other cool thing I like about this is they took a page from some of the proxy models. I think I can't exactly remember what brand of proxies these were, but they had a Warp Spider Phoenix Sword that had this exact same thing. They were coming out of the warp kind of, and this looks really cool. I love it. Very dynamic model. And, of course, female aspect warrior, by the way. Black Widow, which is cool. Look, black armor, Black Widow, makes sense. Really cool looking figure. I'm really excited to use this. And we got new Warp Spiders, too. So, couple things about the Warp Spiders. I do think they look really good. They look like Eldar. They look tall enough. The ones before were really short, really tiny models. These ones look beautiful. They were the oldest models in the Aeldari Index, and now we have a range refresh. Looks like the exarch got a glow up as well. Can choose different weapons. So you can, of course, go with the standard loadout, which is the dual death spinner and power blades, but you can also go with 4 power blades, or you can go with the spinneret rifle and 2 death spinners. So a lot of different options for your exarch, and it really kind of opens up a few extra play styles for you. If you want to go more combat oriented, you can go with the 4 power blades, with maybe the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord, which is assault oriented as well. But if you want to do pure shooting like Warp Spiders, probably in smaller units, go with the spinneret rifles. And then if you want to balance between the two, you can use this option. I think this is really cool. The exarch looks awesome. And if we go on here, the Warp Spiders, again, are all in slightly different spots, slightly different positions. We have a Warp Spider just kind of posing up here. We have a Warp Spider that's about to pull up his weapon to shoot. And then we have a Warp Spider that's in a shooting position already, 2 of them, and they're, of course, standing on a little bit of rock, which I don't think is a terrible thing. The problem I had with the Striking Scorpion kit when it first came out was that every single model was standing on a tactical rock, and they looked pretty static. And I'm actually painting up a squad of Striking Scorpions now, squad of 10, well, 2 squads of 5. And I'm noticing that a lot of the models just kind of look the same, and I had to do a lot of kind of finagling to make sure that every model looked different. So it's good to see that the way these models are built, they're all going to be built slightly differently and have unique looks. I also like the fact that you can choose 3 different helmet options for the exarch. I think that's really cool. I'm really a fan of this one down here, the black and red with the, kind of pincers out here like they're ready to bite. Not so much of a fan of this one, but yeah, it still looks cool. Looks like it has like multiple eyes and stuff like that. I think a good painter could like paint these as eyes, like spider eyes, and it would look really neat. And then you have the classic Eldar rune here, which is still cool. And that's it, guys. That's the preview. Now, obviously, there's something missing, right? And I didn't notice this at first because I had, I basically had beer goggles on during this whole thing. Let's just put it that way, the PG version. And I couldn't see it at the time. But there's actually a missing Phoenix Lord, and that's Gahandris. He's not in it. He's not in the preview. He's not in the reveal. I kind of hope, I'm sucking on the copium that he's going to be revealed later, closer to the Codex release, to, kind of generate some last minute hype for the Codex coming out. But I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I think maybe they just forgot him. They forgot him with the kill team, and they're continuing to forget, maybe, or perhaps they just didn't have him ready in time. I don't know. It's going to be a shame though if he doesn't come out with the Codex, because his model is also one of the oldest models. A lot of you guys have also mentioned that it'll be probably pretty easy to make some sort of kit bash for Condrus, because you have the Striking Scorpions. You have all these new Phoenix Lords. I don't think it would be that hard to make a kit bash out of, for example, a Zerman, and instead of Zerman, just make him into Condrus with a few Striking Scorpion bits. But it's not ideal, right? So there is that, and I think it's a shame that he's not here, but hopefully he'll be here closer to the Codex and they'll actually reveal him as well. So we got the book right here. We got to look at the Codex. It looks awesome. And they mention here that there's going to be 8 different detachments. Now, they said in the video that there's going to be 7. We'll talk about that. But I assume they meant 7 different detachments. And then we have the Warhost detachment. I did think that the Aeldari detachment, loadout was going to be pretty big because of all the different ways to play Aeldari and all the different armies that are in the Aeldari book. So, when I made my predictions that there were going to be at least 7 of them, this is basically what I was talking about, right? You can't have an Aeldari Codex, for example, without the 5 craft worlds, 5 main craft worlds. You can't have one without Harlequins. You can't have one without Ynnari. So I knew those things were going to be in there, and it looks like they're confirming here that they are going to be in it. And our Codex is going to be one of the biggest in the entire game with 8 detachments, which is absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, I don't know what this means. Maybe a little joke. Rana Dandra. That's the last battle against Chaos, by the way. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this. This is awesome. And it looks like this is like Emperor's Children or something like that getting owned. So they're coming out of the webway here and just owning the shit out of Slaanesh, which I love. So, yeah, F Slaanesh. Hashtag F Slaanesh. And we're looking good, man. I really love this. I love the models. I love the rules that we're going to get. And without further ado, let us go ahead and dive into the video and analyze some of those new rules.
From the webway, the Eldari have returned.
They are. We've been sneaking and teasing about them. We've mentioned a few things.
Yeah, and we've seen that Fuegan model before.
Yeah. But finally, the entire Eldari are here. And I tell you what, Alex, there is a war host's worth of miniatures coming our way. Let's take a look at what we've got. Now, you've mentioned Fuegan. We've seen him already a little bit before. This model is just absolutely beautiful. Tell me and those watching, who is Fuegan? Why is he a big deal?
So he's one of the Phoenix Lords. And these guys were basically the original exarchs of the Aspect Warriors. And every time they die, another one takes the armor and basically takes the place. So it's almost like this combined spirit of all these warriors, all this experience. And Fuegan the Burning Lance, he basically embodies the act of oblivion that could bring peace, because they all embody a different aspect of Caleb and Shukane, the god of war.
So he's like, when he's playing 40k, Fuegan's like, if I kill the entire enemy army, there's no more conflict anymore.
Yeah, there's peace.
Great. I like that guy. He carries his custom firepike, Sear Song, the most devastating melter weapon in the game, pretty much. It's strength 14 and damage D6, melter 6. It's just amazing. And his big axe as well, don't get near him. So near and afar, he's a problem. Just a wonderful miniature and really nice to see. Sculpted banner as well.
Oh, yes.
I love a sculpted banner. Good to see that. But of course, Fuegan leads the Fire Dragons.
Indeed.
Another new plastic kit.
So these guys, again, they embody that idea of destruction.
Yeah.
And one of their little kind of quirks is that they've got the intuitive ability to understand where to shoot to destroy an enemy war machine or tank. And the Exarch there in the middle, the Exarchs also have some past lives involved in their armor, is able to do that for even tanks he's never seen before.
That's so cool. There's nowhere to shoot it.
Yep.
They're in a soft spot. That's fantastic. The whole unit carries fusion guns, which are melter weapons by another name, really. And if you've ever fought against Eradicators for the Space Marines, these guys have a similar rule called Assured Destruction. They can reroll everything. So they're going to kill what they shoot at. What's really nice is...
Now, I just want to pause it right here because this is a big rules reveal for the Fire Dragons. I think they're going to be a more expensive unit coming in the Codex, but they're going to be able to reroll all their dice. Now, based on what these guys are saying, it could be different, but it seems to me like they're going to reroll all of their dice against vehicles and maybe even monsters, probably to wound would be my guess. So instead of rerolling ones to wound, rerolling ones on the damage, they're probably just going to reroll all their wounds against vehicles. That's pretty useful, and it kind of makes them a really good unit against vehicles in or out of a Falcon, which is pretty cool. So if you want them to hunt monsters too, and they don't end up getting that rule to reroll wounds against monsters, then the Falcon can technically still do it, depending on how they change the Falcon. But it's looking pretty good. Fire Dragons are looking pretty mean so far, just based on what they've said about them.
As well is there's a new weapon option for the Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons, they've got flamers. So they can have flamers too as well. So if you don't want to take a fusion gun, maybe have one there for it. Maybe persuading your opponent not to come anywhere near you.
So here's another cool thing, and I don't know if they're actually correct on this, but it seems like Fire Dragons can actually take flamers, and it's not just the Exarch. So a lot of people are speculating maybe they're just talking about the Dragon's Breath flamer, but it seems like what they say here is that they can all take flamers. That's at least what it sounds like. And, that's a big deal. That's a big deal because Fire Dragons are now able to, deal with hordes and deal with vehicles. So that'd be a really cool addition. I'd really like to see that a lot.
And the Exarch has different weapon options. You can carry the giant fire pike or even a dragon axe for devastating close combat attacks too. So there's a really nice plastic kit with lots of different options in there. Really nice to see them in plastic. Also coming in plastic, it's more Aspect Warriors. It's the Swooping Hawks. These guys look drastically different, Alex. Tell me about these.
Yeah, so these guys basically wear incredibly lightweight armor, and you can see with those wings, they're able to take to the air and give that aerial support. They can scout out a little bit, but what they like to do is they like to go really high up. And so if you're looking up, there's just this tiny silhouette above you that strikes down and wipes out everything.
That's terrifying. I don't like it at all. They are carrying las blasters, which is a lovely little blast back to the past of Aeldari. They shoot 4 strength, 4 shots apiece. They can drop grenades on people as they fly over as well. And the Exarch has a choice of lots of different weapons, including the...
So I also do want to mention that what they're talking about by dropping grenades over people. Now there's 2 things they could mean here. Either the grenade keyword, which is what they already have, or, of course, kind of a throwback to the Swooping Hawk grenade pack of old. So that means when they move over enemy units, basically I think how it's going to work in this edition is they deal mortal wounds, right? So if they fly over something, they deal some mortal wounds to it. This can be abused as well, because if it actually is kind of written in a certain way that they get to use the ability every time they make a normal move over an enemy unit, you could probably proc this multiple times in a single turn. And actually, funny little note here, the first video I ever made was in 8th edition, and it was covering how you can maximize the mortal wound ability of the Swooping Hawks, because back in 8th edition, Swooping Hawks dealt mortal wounds to units they moved over. Now, as far as competitively, is this really better than Skyleap? Probably not for secondary objectives. So I think the role of Swooping Hawks might actually change in the Codex from a unit that is really good at secondaries to a unit that's probably better at dealing some mortal wounds and destroying light infantry.
The Sun Pistol and Power Sword, which you can see the model carrying there. They're just a really cool utility unit. And Alex, they're all standing on hero rocks, man.
It gives them a nice little level of dynamism.
Really beautiful models in that iconic teal armor color scheme. Just great to see. But of course, they also have a Phoenix Lord, and here he is in plastic. This is Baharroth.
Yes, Baharroth, the Cry of the Wind. He trained on Asurmen, as all the Phoenix Lords did. He was the first of their kind, and Baharroth was the first to basically master the abilities of aerial combat.
That's why he's got these big old beautiful wings on the back there, and he carries a terrifying weapon called the Fury of the Tempest. It's like a super duper Hawk's Talon weapon, and it's just devastating. A great model having your force makes your Swooping Hawks even more agile. He can help them fly off the table and come back in strategic reserves later on, which is lovely. Just a beautiful miniature and wonderful.
So it looks like Skyleap, guys, is going to be locked to Baharroth. If you have a unit of Swooping Hawks, you want to Skyleap, come in and out of reserves like you used to be able to do. Looks like you're going to have to take it with Baharroth. So it looks like GW is kind of going the direction with this squad that, they're not going to be that great in secondaries unless you spend the extra points for Baha here. So, how I feel about that is, believe it or not, I feel fine about it. I think Swooping Hawks have really good movement anyway. We're going to be getting some new army rules too, which they'll talk about in just a second, which is going to help them do that as well. And of course, I think everyone just wanted new models, new sculpts, right? But, being able to come in, come out of the table at will, and also be able to move over enemy units and deal a bunch of mortal wounds via the grenade pack is really interesting and really cool.
On the table as well. It's worth mentioning that all these Phoenix Lords are both devastating in shooting and combat. While you might think this guy's specialized in, no, they're all just good at everything. But then they're Aeldari, right? You mentioned him before. Let's have a look at this. This is Asurmen, the Phoenix Lord of the Dire Avengers, and what a miniature that is.
He is absolutely brilliant. He was the first of the Phoenix Lords and basically mastered all of Kane's sort of aspects of war and taught the other Phoenix Lords various elements of that. So they each embody one aspect of it, but it's Asurmen that kind of embodies that central doctrine of battle, that calm, strategic mind.
As you can imagine, for a mentor of the other Phoenix Lords, he's absolutely devastating on the tabletop too. The Bloody Twins, his personal shuriken weapons there, are damage 2. And the Sword of Asurmen that he carries there has 6 attacks at strength 6, AP 3, damage 3. He just cut Terminators in half with a single sweep. And fair, he's been around for a few hundred years, so he knows what he's doing. Just a wonderful miniature and a great model on the table, and another sculpted back banner, which I'm here for. I love those banners. Coming alongside these releases is the new Eldari Codex as well.
So looks like Asurmen is basically the same. Looks like there was no changes with him. He's probably going to still have his 3-up invul signature. He's probably going to have, I would guess, a similar ability, but we'll see about the ability. But as far as his melee and range power, it's going to be exactly the same, according to these guys.
Well, and it's a bit of an overhaul for the Aeldari here. Now, we're expecting new rules and detachments and things as we were before, and new lore and everything else you'd expect to see in the book there. But there's a couple of things that's worth pointing out here. First of all, the Strands of Fate rule they had before has been replaced with a rule called Battle Focus. Strands of Fate let you use those dice to predict the future, as a Farseer might do. But Battle Focus instead teaches your force to move more agile, with more agility around the table. So really playing on that Aeldari aspect of being super flexible and super fast, which is nice. Don't worry though, Strands of Fate is still around, but only in one of the detachments, the Seer Council detachment. And it's changed a little bit. Now talking...
Okay, so this is pretty huge, and a lot of us have been asking for this for a while. It looks like Strands of Fate is going to be replaced with battle focus. Now, they don't exactly say how it's going to work, but how it worked in the past was battle focus essentially gave you a D6 movement after you shot with one of your units, and essentially I think it's probably going to be the same thing. Now, in the past, in 9th edition, it was you can't advance and then use battle focus. You kind of have to choose one or the other there. But this may change with the Codex. We just don't know exactly how it's going to be worded. Now, there's 2 options here, and some people mentioned that it might just be that the Aeldari are going to get like a bonus to their advance rolls or something like that. I think that would be a shame if that was the case. I don't think that would be really that great overall. But if it's D6 after you move for all the units in your army, I think that's amazing. It will probably exclude Wraith units, because I don't think GW wants to give that much mobility to Wraith type units. However, having said that, I think that Wraith units will have something similar in the Spirit Host detachment, which is going to be one of their, kind of signature, quote unquote, Iandid detachments, where they'll probably get some sort of battle focus ability. Maybe they'll get it, they'll benefit from it just like any other model, and they'll probably get some sort of stratagem that helps them with their mobility as well, would be my guess.
Of detachments, there are 7 in this book, which is really cool, going from the War Host, the Wind Rider Host. If you want an army of Wraiths, it's there for you. If you want an army of Harlequins, they're in the book as well, which is nice to see. And the really one that I wanted to point out here is the Devoted if you need, the Yanari units, because the Harlequins and the Drakari units you can use in the Eldari forces are in the Codex itself.
So you've got all the Harlequins, all the Drakari in there, so you don't need to worry about bringing, other battle tomes. It's all solidly in.
It is indeed. It does mean that the Eldari Codex is a hefty tome.
Chunky.
It's a big old chunky tome, but it's all in there in one place, which is really good to use. And yeah, be excited about that. That's really cool. But that's not all coming for the Eldari. We've saved what we think maybe might be the best till last, because there's one last unit of Aspect Warriors we haven't seen in plastic, and here they are. It's the Warp Spiders. Alex, who are these guys?
So these guys basically embody the path to victory through defense. They're incredibly tough, but they're also, they've got a fair bit of shooting and combat in them. However, their main trick is with those backpacks. They're able to jump into the warp very briefly and essentially teleport somewhere else.
That sounds dangerous, man.
Yeah, they can arrive unseen. However, Eldari souls are really in demand by Slaanesh, and so to spend any time in the warp whatsoever is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, those warp generators that they carry on their backs give them a rule in the game called Flicker Jump that reflects what you just said. And they can move across the battlefield up to 24 inches, which is monstrous. And they all carry a Death Spinner, which is basically a souped-up flamer.
So it looks like Warp Spiders are also going to be essentially the same. Their Flicker Jump is going to allow them to move 24 inches. Now, it could be slightly different, right? They could basically divide up the movement. They could divide it into movement phase and shooting phase. Maybe in the movement phase they can, move up to 12 inches. Then in the shooting phase they can move an additional 12 inches. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that, but it seems like they're pretty much the same. And the Death Spinners are still flamers, according to the interview. So, that's pretty cool. I think a lot of people were happy with the Warp Spiders, how they were. And I think that's going to continue. And if anything, they're just going to get better.
Imagine the utility that has in the game. But of course, if they use that warp generator to do that flicker jump, there is, as you mentioned, some risk to the unit. They might not all make it out alive, which is cool. The exarch's got loads of options here. You can see they've got a power blades and the old Death Weavers there. Other options include the spinneret rifle and a whole bunch of power blades where you can get up to 10 attacks for your exarch in combat, which is great, even though they can't charge when they've used flicker jump, unless you happen to take what I think is my favourite new miniature of the release. This is the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord, Lycus. Tell me about Lycus, Alex.
We have waited decades.
We really have. Yeah, we have.
So Lycus, the Whispering Web, is the Phoenix Lord of the Warp Spiders, and basically she's one of the most active of the Phoenix Lords because they're all out and about in the galaxy in various...
I'm just going to say it. This is hot. Okay? Lycus is hot. She's banging. And this is an awesome sculpt. Really cool. I'm really excited to purchase this model. It looks awesome. And the rules for it are going to be great.
Ways, shapes, and forms. However, she spends a huge amount of her time in the warp, incredibly dangerous. That is basically the embodiment of Caleb and Chicane's willingness to do anything to destroy the foe. So she'll appear on battlefields across the galaxy, unasked for, unaided, and as you said, will accompany a great range of warp spiders to slaughter everything and then disappear straight back in the warp.
Absolutely incredible miniature. I love it bursting out of the warp there on the model itself, and absolutely monstrous in the game as well. She carries Weave Render, that's her sword. It's terrifying. And her rule, if she joins as warp spiders, they can use the flicker jump rule and then still charge.
So if you take that exarch with the extra attacks,
it's a problem. It's a real problem. So
this is pretty insane. So a 24-inch move, guys, followed by a charge. Nothing in the game can really do that, right? I mean, that's very rare. Now, of course, they're warp spiders. The warp spiders themselves are not great in combat. The exarch can be kitted to be pretty good in combat, but she's going to be excellent in combat. So, to be able to deliver a unit of warp spiders into the enemy's backfield, charge into an enemy unit, and by the way, that's after shooting it, and then killing that unit, and then presenting a really powerful Overwatch threat is going to be something I think we're going to be seeing in competitive play unless this unit is like ungodly expensive. I predict it'll be about 200 points, something like that. I predict Warp Spiders will be about 100 to 120 points, give or take, and she's probably going to be about the same. So yeah, 200 to 225 point unit, I would say, maybe even 230 points there, but really tons of potential to be able to kill multiple units and, deliver a huge threat into the enemy backfield. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Really going to be fun to use when the Codex comes out.
Look out for her coming soon. It's a wonderful miniature. What a way to end the preview. That's fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, there is loads more information about all of the stuff we've seen.
So, of course, they end the preview there. I think that was an excellent preview. Honestly, gave us a lot of good ideas about what's going to be in the Codex. I'm going to be making a series of videos as, it gets closer to that point where we're talking about possible strategies and tactics of using battle focus. And of course, a lot of these things are going to be conjecture. But, to keep it real with you guys, I don't think GW is going to stray far from what the Eldari community has liked in the past, right? After all, they want to sell the models, they want to sell the Codex, right? They want to get people involved and invested in the Aeldari, and Battle Focus is a great way to do it because it's the most popular army rule that the Eldar have ever had. And of course, Strands of Fate, is it a good ability? Sure, yeah, it's good. But it's not that fun, to be honest. And I think that as I've played more and more in 10th edition, Strands of Fate has become kind of like, a keystone thing to being able to, kind of support different army strategies. And I really want to see a change away from this. Now, the other thing they mentioned is that a Strands of Fate-like ability is going to be present for the Seer Council detachment. I think that's cool, but it's probably not going to work the same way. And when the Sisters get changed in January, their Miracle Dice get changed, I think we're going to be able to see what GW is going to do for that specific detachment, the Seer Council detachment. So we'll see. Hopefully it's a, maybe it's a return to the old kind of Strands of Fate, or maybe it's something completely different. We'll just have to, kind of wait and see. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'll go ahead and end the video here. I am going to make kind of a shortcut version of this video, kind of explaining all the implications and stuff like that in depth, probably tomorrow. Probably try to have the video out tomorrow for you guys. And from there, we're just going to dive, deeply into what the possibilities might be for the Eldari Codex coming out soon. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. If you guys want to support the channel and join the channel's Patreon, like so many, others have, and, by the way, thank you to all my Patrons who have supported the channel over the last 2 years. I will leave the link in the description for that. It's totally free. You don't have to pay a thing if you don't want to, but, obviously I would appreciate, if you did, but it's not necessary to get into the channel's Discord, which is going to be, just a vibrant community of Eldar players and enthusiasts who like talking about anything from strategy to tactics to wargaming and hobbying. So yeah, come join us. We'd love to have you. Also, I do have a channel store page as well as an Amazon affiliate link. The Amazon affiliate link, of course, will be updated with the new Eldar stuff as it comes onto Amazon, but it sometimes takes a while. So, if you want to grab those Aeldari combat patrols while you can, please do so with the affiliate link. You'll get a discount, of course, because Amazon, usually sells it cheaper, and I'll get a little tiny kickback from it. Also, if you want to grab some Eldar-inspired apparel for, kind of Eldar Codex hype, then you can visit my channel store page, and I have a bunch of different designs as well on there for you guys. And if you use a discount code, I think it's Eldar 2024, you can get up to 40% off on your order. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you guys next time. Super hyped for the Codex, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.